All right, here's our second video working on finding the domain and the zeros of rational expressions. If we look at our example, we're probably gonna have to do some stuff with this. So I see this -1 exponent. Remember, if there's a -1 exponent, that is gonna go to the bottom of our fraction list. So let's just rewrite our rational expression. We have 2x squared plus 5x minus 3 over x cubed minus 4x. All right, so the domain, we'll do the domain first. Domain is where the denominator does not equal 0. Remember how we're putting those d's together to remember that? So x cubed minus 4x does not equal 0. And then we solve this for x. Anytime that you have x's that you cannot combine because they're not like terms, you want to factor this so that you can solve by factoring. So these two have a common factor of x, so let's take the x out. Leaves us with x squared minus 4 and then does not equal 0. Then you want to think, can you keep factoring this x squared minus 4? Well, yeah, you can. That's a difference of squares. That factors into an x plus 2 and an x minus 2. Carry down your does not equal 0 and carry down that x out front. Alright, so now that everything's factored, we set our little mini equations anywhere that you have an x. So this gets an equation, this gets one, and this gets one. So we're going to say that x does not equal 0, the x plus 2 does not equal 0, and the x minus 2 does not equal 0. Solve each one for x. So x cannot equal, well, that first one's already solved, so 0. And then subtract 2 from that one to get a -2. You would add 2 on both sides to get a +2. So we just found the values that x cannot be. Because if you plug any of these values in for x, your denominator will be 0, and that's what we are avoiding. So our domain, all the x's such that x does not equal, and then we just list those 0, -2, and 2. Alright, so that's our domain. Now let's talk about finding the 0. I'll write it over here. The zeros of the function. So zeros of the function have to do with the denominator. So we take our denominator, this 2x squared plus 5x minus 3, and we say that this does equal 0. Because we want to know what values of x will make this whole numerator 0, because 0 divided by anything is 0. So basically it makes the entire function 0. So we have to solve this, but we have an x squared and we have an x. We can't put those together, so we have to factor and solve. I see no common factors, but I also see a 2 in front of the x squared, so we are going to guess and check on our factoring. 2x and x go in the first spot because 2x and x multiply to 2x squared. I need the second spot to multiply to a -3, and that's just going to be a 3 and a 1, but one of them has to be negative. I'm going to put the 3 over here because I know that that's going to be multiplied with the 2, and that gets me up to 6x. I'm going to put the 1 right here. I'm going to make that a +3 and a -1. This is just my guess. Now we check and we say, all right, that gives you a -1x. This gives you a 6x. Does that combine to give you a +5x? Yes, it does. All right, so we have our equation in factored form is 2x minus 1 times x plus 3, and this is equal to 0. So you have two factors, you write your mini equations, 2x minus 1 equals 0, and x plus 3 equals 0. Now this 2x minus 1, we're going to solve that for x. We add 1 first, so 2x equals 1, then we divide by 2, so we get x is equal to 1/2. Over here we'll subtract 3, so x is also equal to a -3. So we got +1/2, -3. So if I go back to wherever the problem is, oh, there it is. Our zeros are 1/2 and -3. I'm going to go ahead and circle this so I know this is our final answer right here.